All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining me today. Let's talk about grading the Buffalo Sabres during the pause. Now, before we get started, I just want to ask you to please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, which will alert you when my next video comes out, which will be about the Boston Bruins. Now, last team I graded was the Calgary Flames there. I'm shooting these videos in reverse alphabetical order, grading all 31 NHL teams, and I'll throw up a few links up top over the next few minutes of some of the most recent clubs I've graded so you can click on them at your leisure. However, you can find all of them very easily in my playlist. Now, the Sabres. Kind of sums it up, doesn't it? I mean, I would assume most of their fans feel this way too. It's no secret that what is ownership doing? What is their GM doing? Get Jack Eichel some help. He can't do it all by himself. He's like the only elite player on this team, maybe besides Dallin, their left shot defenseman, who's only 19 years old, who put up 40 points this season. Okay, he looks great. There's two probable elite players that you have. And before this guy, Eichel, asks for a trade, he's inching close to that every season, isn't he? There's only one thing left to do. You need to retool during your rebuild. They should have started this season. They were out getting players when they should have been trading them away for draft picks near the deadline. I just don't get what is Botterill doing and what are the Pagulas doing, giving him at least another year. It'll be his fourth, by the way. What? Now, all the trades he's done haven't been terrible, like the trade for Colin Miller, for instance, from the Vegas Golden Knights. That was a good one. Getting Yoki Haru for Alexander Nylander, kind of an even swap somewhat. You hope that isn't a Taylor Hall scenario, and I don't think it will be. Yoki Haru's young, right shot D. He should be good. But, I mean, look at the Marco Scandella trade. Sending him to Montreal for a fourth rounder, you'd be like, oh, okay. But did you see what Montreal flipped him for? Almost twice as much. They should have at least either asked for more, asked for an extra pick, or waited closer to the trade deadline to get as much as they could for him. What are they trading for Wayne Simmons for? Why are you giving away draft picks? Man. Now, they actually started off the season really strong. I think they were like 9-2-2 in October or something like that. And then they just fell off a cliff almost completely for the rest of the season. Their February wasn't too bad. But now, just before the pause, they won their last game, actually, but were 3-7-0 in their last 10. And they finished the season with 68 points. That's fourth last in the East. Only New Jersey, Ottawa, and Detroit did worse than they did. And they were, sixth in their division in the Atlantic? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. Talk about running on that treadmill, going nowhere. That's how I sort of feel about this team right now. Now, let's take a look at some of the stats that I'm going to throw at your face real quickly here. The power play got worse, went from 16th to 20th from last season to now. Same with the penalty kill. It was 12th last season, and now it's 30th. Huh? They got this new coach in Ralph Krueger, and certain things have improved, I guess. Maybe the attitude has gotten a little lighter, but I don't know. Wins, I'll continue. They're 25th in the league. They were 26th last season. Slight improvement. Points, they were 27th last season, 25th this season. Goals for, they were 21st in the league, 23rd last season. That's an improvement. Goals against, they were 21st this season, 24th last season. Face-off win percentage, they were dead last. Shots against, they were 14th. Shots for, 30th in the league. A couple of quick notes here, starting with Jack Eichel, and most of them are about him, obviously. He's ended up 10th in the league in the NHL point leader list, finishing with 78 altogether. The next best Buffalo Sabre ranked 69th and had 50 points, and that was Sam Reinhart. Now, Eichel was tied for 7th in the NHL in power play points with 27. He's also tied for 2nd in the NHL with overtime goals with 3. And he's 3rd in the NHL with game-winning goals with 9. One last point here. The Sabres had the second least amount of penalties in the NHL. Columbus is the only other team who had less. So you can see there's some discipline, happening in there, and there's some minor improvements, with Ralph Kruger, who was kind of a shot in the dark for coach, right? Because he only sort of had that half season with Edmonton, and then that World Cup series when he coached Team Europe, surprisingly to a really to a second place finish. But if I'm them, I just back up the Brinks truck right now to Gerard Gallant and give him whatever the hell he wants. If I don't know, I'd fire Botterill as soon as humanly possible, unless he doesn't do something magical this offseason, which whenever that happens, I know. Anyways, let's talk quickly about their prospect pool ranking by the Hockey News, which I forgot to mention. They're ranked 9th overall in the league. So there are some players coming up. One of the biggest of importance is their number 1 pick, Dylan Cousins, who's ranked 7th overall in the top 100 in the NHL. He's a center, 6'3", 19 years old, has fantastic numbers in the WHL. This should be, finally, their second-line center they've been craving for. That Mittelstadt just hasn't been able to fill in, and they've had a bunch of third and fourth line centers kind of filling that spot. And they have some other mentionable prospects, but one of which who was Rasmus Asplund, who played a few games for them. He's a center, 22 years old. I'll touch more on him a little bit later. But in order to keep this video short, I'm just going to stop it right there and continue with talk about some of the players, starting with the injuries. Now, they had 3 major ones this season. All happened early. Saboka, their left wing center, went out with a lower body injury in November, gone for the season. Their defenseman Matt Hunwick had a neck issue in October, gone for the season. And then there's that hulking forward, Tage Thompson. I want to say he's pretty young, still only 22. I think they got him in that St. Louis trade for O'Reilly. He had a shoulder issue, surgery in November, gone for the season. Now, those guys are all on the LTIR. Now let's talk about some of the players, starting with their goalies. And let's begin with Linus Ullmark, who at 26 years old, he'll be 27 in July, late July, 6'4", 215 pounds. His contract will be up. I think he's an RFA with arbitration rights. What do they give this guy? Now, he had a decent season, 34 games, a .915 save percentage. As compared to last season, 37 games, he had a .905. Now, their backup, Carter Hutton, is still signed for one more season at $2.75 million, which isn't going to break the bank or anything, but he's 34 years old, and this season, in 31 games, had an .898 save percentage. Just awful. Last season, if you remember, in 50 games, he had a .908, which was about league average. If he can do that again, that's not horrible, right? But now let's talk about some of their defensemen. Starting, I digress just for a second. Now, they do have a goalie of the future who's ranked number 2 in their prospect pool and 41 overall in the NHL. That's Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. But he looks like he's 20 years old right now. He looks like he's at least a few years away. So we'll see how he progresses. Now, the defensemen, starting off with the point leaders. Dallin, of course, their defenseman of the future. Left shot D, 19 years old, only 59 games. He had 4 goals, 40 points to lead all defensemen. 40 points at age 19. Pretty impressive. -7, average 19-18 a game. And then there's the other Rasmus, Ristolainen, the right shot D, who everyone was talking about being traded the past 2 seasons, really. He was like a -40 last year. Now, he's only 25 years old. He played 69 games, had 6 goals, 33 points, and was only a -2 this season. Wow. An average 22.48 a game, most on the team. Now, there are a plethora of other D here that they have. They have a lot of good depth D, but none of them really put up too many points. They average between 5 and 18 for most of them, like right shot Montour, who had 18 points, averaged 19.30 a game, was a +13, by the way, which was best on the team overall. Then there's Yoki Haru, who they traded Nylander for. He is only 20 years old, had 15 points, was a -6. We'll see where his career goes. Then there's left shot McCabe, who had 13 points, -11, worst amongst all D. And then Miller, who they got from Vegas, the right shot defenseman, 11 points, -9. Scandella, who they traded to Montreal in 31 games, he had 9 points, was a +9. Bogosian, who they waived and later bought out, he played only 19 games, had 5 points, and it was a 0 in the plus-minus category. And then there's a couple other AHLers they brought up, one of the veteran being Gilmore. And then there was Pilut, who actually has some promise. Maybe he'll be able to make the team in the next couple of seasons. He's got some good AHL numbers. Now, let's talk about some of the forward group and some of their top point getters, starting with, of course, Jack Eichel, who at age 23, entering his prime, played 68 games, 36 goals, most on the team, 78 points, also most +5, averaged 22.06 a game. I think that was most amongst all forwards. Sam Reinhart is second on the team at age 24, 69 games. He had 22 goals, 50 points. Respectable. -15 though. Averaged 20.38 a game. And then third on this list is Victor Olofsson, who I think this was his first NHL season. And at age 24, really came out of the gates blazing. Really helped Buffalo's record to that point. Great, it was great on the power play. Played 54 games, had 20 goals, 42 points. Was a -1, averaged 18.23 a game. He just kind of disappeared the last half of the season there. And I wanted to touch on a few other players who I thought they should trade for draft picks towards the trade deadline, like Marcus Johansson. I know they just signed him, but still, $4.5 million. Eat some of that money. You know, they're going to have a ton of cap space next season. I think they're just at just over $40 million for next season. Eat some money. Get some decent round higher draft picks for him. He played really well for Boston last year in the playoffs. Although he's far away from being a real producer. I mean, that 2016-17 with the Capitals, he had 24 goals, 58 points. It was that long ago. In 60 games, he had 30 points with the Sabres, -12, 9 goals. Yuck. And then Jeff Skinner, Mr. Teeter-Totter. 1 year off, 1 year, $9 million. I know they had to sign him. They couldn't let him walk, but man, it just makes you cry, doesn't it? He's 28 years old, and they have him for 7 more seasons. Now, this season, in 59 games, 14 goals, 23 points, -22. He's a liability defensively. Last season, in 82 games, 40 goals, 63 points. He was a 0. How do you get 40 goals and still end up a 0 in the plus-minus category? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Maybe he was even, holding Eichel back on that first line sometimes because of his lack of back checking. Now, then there's Kyle Okposo, and I know he's just had bad luck with his health and so on and so forth. But I mean, they're strapped with another 3 years at $6 million with this guy. If there's ever a buyout candidate, he should be one. 52 games, 19 points, -3, 9 goals. He's playing fourth line minutes. Jimmy Vesey, they should have traded this guy. He's going to be a UFA at the end of the season. In 64 games, he had 20 points +12. They could have got something for him. And then that Rasmus Asplund. Now, he's ranked 5th on their prospect pool. He's a left wing / centerman. He's 22, be 23 in December, 5'11", 190 pounds. He only played 29 games, and then they sent him back down. 3 points, -4. He projects as like a middle six player, probably more like another third liner, if that. I'm trying to end on a high note. How would I grade them? I got to give them a D-. I think. As always, I would love to hear how you would grade this team down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your support. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And hey, this crazy world we live in right now, please stay safe out there. And if you can, stay at home. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.